What's up, good people? Make sure you like, subscribe, and bang that bell. Let's get it. Kevin Samuels just recently dropped a photo of him and Cam Newton. Cam Newton, who recently came under fire for making some statements that a lot of people viewed as misogynistic. I thought nothing was wrong with his statements. I don't think he said anything wrong at all.
Tell my dad no, baby. But you can't cook.
Okay.
You don't know when to be quiet. You don't know how to allow a man to lead.
But cancel culture came for him. Now, if you recall, Future just recently had to separate himself from Kevin Samuels. When Kevin Samuels appeared in Future's video, Worst Day, Future was asked about that in an article in GQ magazine, and he attempted to distance himself from Kevin Samuels, stating that if he was familiar with Kevin Samuels' reputation, he would not have worked with him. He said he didn't know who Kevin Samuels was prior to shooting that video. He said he would have overthought it and would have probably more than likely not worked with Kevin Samuels due to Kevin Samuels' toxic reputation. Future, who has also been called toxic, but we have an interesting dynamic here. Where you have on one hand Future attempting to separate or distance himself from Kevin Samuels. Then you have on the other hand, there's Cam Newton, who recently came under fire for making some comments about women where he was basically critiquing the behaviors of women. Whether he adequately lives the lifestyle or not, he was calling for women to conduct themselves in a more feminine way, fall back, let the man lead, have your own, but know how to treat a man. Know how to cater to a man. Know how to let that man lead. Nothing wrong with him saying that. And Kevin Samuels preaches a message very similar to that. So when you see them in that photo, and normally when Kevin Samuels does a photo op with somebody, there's normally a sit-down discussion that has to happen. A lot of people criticize Kevin Samuels for sitting down with Brittany Renner. A lot of people said he should have been sitting down with PJ Washington. Well, this is a good time for him to use his media platform, sit down with Cam Newton, who's brought under fire and been canceled by a lot of, we might as well just go ahead and say it, been canceled by more of the liberal media who's more feminist leaning. But it's an interesting dynamic, as I stated, where the men who critique the actions and behaviors of women are the misogynists, but the rappers like the Futures of the world who call women everything under the sun, every type of female dog or garden tool, who's a serial impregnator, slinging community semen around. This guy has to separate himself from a man who has more traditional leaning principles and values, and teaches, critiques, and berates women to more or less get back in line with that. That guy is toxic. The rapper, the hip-hop artist is no longer viewed as that, per the simple fact that they're not trying to cancel them. They're not coming after the rappers. Future is in GQ magazine separating himself from somebody that Cam Newton, who's being canceled and called toxic and misogynistic, is apparently embracing. That is an interesting dynamic. That is a shining example of which side of this wants disorder and chaos. If the disorderly, chaotic person, who is Future, has to separate and distance himself from Kevin Samuels, who's being embraced by Cam Newton, who was calling for a more orderly arrangement between men and women. The hip-hop artist, whose stock in trade, according to some, was disrespecting, bashing, and belittling women, that person is viewed as the good guy. The misogynists are the men who are speaking from a perspective, whether or not the men who are doing the talking are living it, they are speaking from a perspective that would lend to more families. Let that sink in when you see women criticizing Kevin Samuels and Cam Newton, and especially if they sit down together, and especially if Cam Newton, who's been walking back a lot of his statements, if Cam Newton is willing to stand in it in a discussion with Kevin Samuels, if he stands in it and stands on his square and they lean into those punches, that's going to set the internet on fire again. But Future, okay. Future is okay. He's separating and distancing himself from Kevin Samuels, and by extension, the comments of Cam Newton. You can't blame men for the disorder and chaos if when men speak to order and chaos, they get criticized by the women who claim that they want men to be leaders. But that's all I got on that one. Let me know what you think in the comment section, and we are out of here. Peace.